You wake up tomorrow morning, and a calm voice tells you, this is your last day on Earth. Exactly 24 hours remain. The sun will rise and set one final time for you. What thoughts flood your mind in those first terrifying seconds? Who will you call first? Your mother? Your child? The person you never found the courage to say I love you to? What will be your final meal? The very last taste that touches your tongue before everything goes dark forever. Will you choose something extravagant? Something from your childhood? Or will you refuse food entirely because fear has stolen your appetite? And if you could choose the manner of your death, would you want it quick and painless? Or does some dark part of you wonder what it would feel like to face the most terrifying ends humanity has ever invented? Hello everyone, and welcome to this deep, unflinching journey into the darkest chapters of human history. If you're new here, I urge you right now, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and join us for more stories that explore the shadows of what we are capable of. If this kind of gripping, chilling content resonates with you, please smash the like button and leave a comment below. What would you choose as your last meal if this was truly your final day alive? Let's see the most popular answers in the comments and discuss them together. Now, take a deep breath. Dim the lights if you dare. What follows is a complete, detailed exploration of the most horrifying execution methods ever created by mankind. This is not fiction. These are real practices used across centuries and continents. We will walk through them slowly, methodically, with every scream, every drop of blood, and every moment of prolonged agony described, so you can almost feel them. Prepare yourself. This is a long journey into hell on earth. Let us begin in the ancient world, where death was rarely quick and almost never merciful. The Romans turned execution into both punishment and public entertainment. Crucifixion stands as one of their most infamous contributions. The condemned was forced to carry the heavy patibulum, the crossbeam, through jeering crowds to the execution site. There, nails as long as a man's hand were driven through the wrists and feet. The body was lifted upright.
Immediately the weight began to pull on the pierced limbs. Every breath became torture. To inhale, the victim had to push upward on torn feet, scraping raw flesh and bone against wood. The shoulders dislocated, the chest muscles cramped, lungs slowly filled with fluid. Many hung for hours, some for days. Roman soldiers would break the legs of those lingering too long to speed up suffocation, but sometimes they left them as a warning. Birds landed on their shoulders and pecked at open wounds while families watched from below. The humiliation was total. The body was left to rot as a lesson to anyone who dared rebel against the empire. Even more sadistic was scaphism, sometimes called the boats. The Persians and later some other cultures used this on traitors and enemies. The victim was stripped naked and trapped between two small boats or hollowed tree trunks, their head, hands, and feet left exposed. They were force-fed milk and honey until they vomited and defecated.
Then more honey was smeared over their face and body. The boats were floated in a stagnant pond under the blazing sun. Within hours, insects arrived. Flies, beetles, ants, wasps. They crawled into every orifice, laid eggs inside the living flesh. The victim's body began to rot while still alive. The stench attracted more creatures. Some historical accounts say victims survived for up to 2 weeks, their bodies becoming a moving mass of maggots and decay as they slowly lost their minds from pain and thirst. In medieval Europe, the breaking wheel, also known as the Catherine wheel, became a favorite spectacle. The condemned was tied spread eagle onto a large wooden wheel. The executioner, often a muscular man with a heavy iron bar or hammer, began at the legs. He methodically smashed every major bone: femurs, tibias, ribs, arms, shoulders. Each strike produced a sickening crunch that echoed across the square. The broken limbs were then threaded through the spokes of the wheel like grotesque weaving. The wheel was raised high on a pole. Crows and ravens descended. The victim, sometimes still conscious, hung there for hours or days, exposed to rain, sun, and freezing nights, slowly dying from shock, dehydration, and infection. Crowds gathered to watch and cheer. Vlad the Impaler, ruler of Wallachia in the 15th century, elevated impaling to an art of terror.
Shouting, thousands of people, enemies, criminals, even his own subjects, were forced onto sharpened wooden stakes. The stake entered through the buttocks or groin and emerged from the mouth or chest, carefully avoiding immediate vital organs. The victim's own body weight slowly pushed them further down the pole. Some survived for hours, even days, screaming, begging, urinating blood. Vlad reportedly dined among forests of impaled bodies, the smell of death thick in the air, using the horror to deter Ottoman invaders. One account claims he impaled 20,000 people in a single campaign, creating a literal wall of dying flesh. In East Asia, China's lingchi, death by 1,000 cuts, was practiced for over 1,000 years until the early 20th century. The executioner used sharp knives to slice off small pieces of flesh from the arms, legs, chest, and face. The process was carefully controlled. Major arteries were avoided for as long as possible. Victims could endure hundreds of cuts.
Some records speak of over 3,000 slices. The goal was not just death, but the complete destruction of the body, so the soul could not find peace in the afterlife. The condemned often remained conscious until the final cut to the throat or heart. Families were sometimes forced to watch. Flaying, or skinning alive, appeared in many cultures, from the Assyrians to the Aztecs to medieval Europe. The skin was removed in large strips using special curved knives. Executioners tried to keep the victim alive and conscious as long as possible. The exposed muscles glistened red. Every breeze felt like fire. Some victims had their skin displayed on walls or made into drums as warnings. The psychological horror of seeing one's own skin being carried away while still breathing is almost unimaginable. In parts of Africa and the New World, being consumed alive by insects or animals was common. Victims were tied near massive anthills. Within minutes, thousands of ants swarmed. They entered eyes, ears, mouth, and open wounds. The pain was described as thousands of burning needles. In 2 or 3 days, only clean white bones remained. In other regions, people were buried up to their necks in sand under the desert sun. Scavenger birds pecked out their eyes and tore at their faces while they remained fully aware, unable to move, screaming until their throats filled with sand. The European Inquisition brought religious terror to new heights. The rack stretched victims until ligaments tore and joints popped from sockets. The Iron Maiden, a tall cabinet lined with spikes, supposedly closed slowly, piercing non-vital areas first to prolong suffering. Judas' cradle forced the victim onto a sharp pyramid that slowly entered the body through the anus or vagina. Burning at the stake was widespread. Some were strangled with a garrote before the flames, but many were not. The fire rose from the feet upward. Victims felt their skin blister and peel, their fat melt, their muscles contract in the heat, while crowds sang hymns. Keel hauling, used by European navies, dragged the condemned under the ship's hull. Barnacles and sharp shells tore the flesh from bone as the person was pulled from one side of the ship to the other, often multiple times. Many drowned or bled to death. The blood eagle, possibly used by Vikings, involved cutting the ribs from the spine and pulling the lungs out through the back to resemble bloody wings. The victim remained alive during parts of the procedure. Jumping to more recent centuries, the French Revolution introduced the guillotine as a humane device. Yet stories persist of severed heads blinking, moving their eyes, or trying to speak for up to 30 seconds after decapitation. In the United States, the electric chair often failed horribly. In one famous case, flames shot from a prisoner's head. In another, it took multiple jolts over many minutes while the body convulsed and smoked.
The gas chamber could take up to 18 minutes of gasping and convulsions. Lethal injection, introduced as peaceful, has produced some of the most disturbing failures. In several documented cases, the sedative wore off or was ineffective. The prisoner remained conscious while the paralytic prevented movement, and the final drug burned through their veins. Some executions lasted over 2 hours as veins collapsed and technicians struggled.
Throughout all these methods, one pattern emerges: humanity's terrifying creativity when it comes to causing pain. Why did societies invest so much effort into making death slow and public? Deterrence was one reason, religious punishment another, Entertainment and control played roles too. But beneath it all lies something darker, our fascination with the edge between life and death. Now let us linger on the final moments. What do people actually do when they know the end is certain? On death rows around the world, last meal requests reveal humanity in its most vulnerable state. Some ask for simple comforts, a cheeseburger, French fries, ice cream. Others go extravagant, lobster, steak, expensive wine. Ted Bundy requested steak, eggs, hash browns. John Wayne Gacy wanted KFC chicken, shrimp, and strawberries. One man asked for a single olive, pit included, so he could have something to do in the afterlife. Many refuse food entirely.
Thoughtful. Some request cigarettes or a final prayer. Last words vary wildly. Some curse the system. Others forgive their executioners. One said, "I hope the people who are about to kill me never have to experience the pain I have caused." Another joked, "This is taking longer than my marriage." A few simply say, "I love you" to family members watching behind glass.
These stories force us to confront our own mortality. If you truly had only 24 hours left, what would change? Would you finally tell the truth to those you hurt? Would you eat without counting calories? Would you watch the sunset as if seeing it for the first time? Or would fear paralyze you completely? The truth is sobering. Every one of us is living a limited time offer. None of us received a guarantee of tomorrow. The horrors we have explored today are extreme, yet they remind us how fragile life is and how precious every single moment remains. Thank you for staying with me through this long, dark journey. If this story moved you, chilled you, or made you reflect on life, please do 3 things right now. First, hit the like button. Second, subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss future stories. Third, leave a comment below. What would you choose as your last meal if this was your final day alive?
Let's make this comment section alive with honest answers. Stay curious, stay kind, and remember, time is the only resource we cannot replenish. Use it wisely. Until the next story, goodbye.